This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Hi and welcome to the next edition of the Away End. This evening I am joined by Tom Taylor from the Sports Addict blog rather than podcast. So first of all, Tom, thank you very much for joining me to run through the upcoming game against Cardiff. First of all, tell us a bit about yourself, what you do, what the blog's all about, and then we'll go into a bit about the game.
Awesome, yeah. So hello everyone who's watching or listening in. My name's Tom. I'm a Cardiff City fan, and I'm doing my Masters in Media and Communications. I also run a blog called Sport Addict Corner, where I talk a bit about football, but a lot of other sports on there as well. So whatever you're into, whether that's rugby, Formula One, boxing, American football, anything like that, yeah, you can find it on there.
And I will say I've had a sneaky peek at the blog. There's some really good content, so I do encourage people to have a look. Obviously, you mentioned there being a massive Cardiff City fan, and it's the game on Wednesday evening between Birmingham and Cardiff. So we got to first of all, will it be coming to St Andrews?
Unfortunately, not. No, I'm not making the trip. I wish I was though. It's a stadium I want to visit, and it's quite a close one as well.
It's always a good game between us as well. I think there's a lot of rivalry actually between Birmingham and Cardiff, on and off the field, dare we say. But no, it's always a good game. So yeah, we're coming into this after another loss against a Leicester City side, which, to be honest, I gotta be honest, I didn't expect to take anything away from. So we did play well against them. Unfortunately, come away with a 2-1 loss. What about yourself? What was your last game before going into this?
So we played Hull at home at the weekend, and we lost as well. We lost 3-1. It was awful. Like the difference in quality between the two teams. I think the difference in like being able to actually spend money between two teams was definitely on show on Saturday. And I don't know, I think Hull are the team like putting in that kind of performance that I wish we were doing at this point. Yeah, it was quite a tough watch.
It's interesting because obviously Birmingham desperately need the results to get out of what we're now in the bottom three. And hopefully results on Tuesday will go for us as well to help us get away from that space. But I think, you know, we're two similar clubs in terms of finances. You know, we've been lucky enough to get some decent owners now, and then looking forwards. But we're still constrained by financial fair play, which I know you guys have been as well. So too close on that front. Let's just hope it's a little bit different on Wednesday evening on the field. So. Past 5 games, then you know, actually, it's actually in favour of Cardiff. So, in the past 5, you've won 3, we've won 1, and we drew 1. With the last result being actually Birmingham's only win, but at Cardiff, back in 2023. So it's I think it's primed for a good game and a close one. Both teams, you know, really got to go at it after losses, but also, you know, from our front, we've got to go out and get a result. So should be pretty open, hoping for a few goals. Your thoughts, you know, on the game coming up? You know, how do you think, first of all, Cardiff will set themselves up? What do you think the manager will do? And off the back of, like you mentioned, there a 3-1 defeat at the weekend, do you think they'll make any changes to your squad?
I think there kind of has to be. We didn't look particularly convincing going forward. You know, on the wing, we looked quite weak in attack. I think the only one who had a decent showing of himself was Carlin Grant, and I'm glad he managed to get a goal as well. But I don't know, we looked too hesitant to take players on. You know, a couple of the defenders got booked, and even still, we were just trying to do too much of this, you know, holding it up and just passing it about, when in reality we should have just been going at them. So I'm hoping we can learn from that. I
How
think we
does it
will see
generally set your
changes.
team up? You know what sort of formation, etc. Do you tend to play?
Usually a bit of a I don't know, between 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, I suppose. So we tend to usually have like a bit more of an advanced midfielder. Who that is will be anyone's guess. It could easily be Aaron Ramsey. It might be Joe Rowles. It might be, maybe David Turnbull could play there. I'm not too sure. It's just, depends what goes or what mood Errol's in on the evening. But yeah, it's usually something like that. I, I like I said, I hope Carlin Grant starts, but I would quite like to see as well some of the youth players integrated a little bit. I think Errol kind of hinted at it that after this weekend, we're not going to go down, but we're not really going to challenge for playoffs either. So, maybe we could see a couple more of the youth players involved, and some of them are attackers as well. So
Hmm.
that's something I think it would be a good game to try. Birmingham is one that always scares me. Like I have memories of us playing bad and it being a lot closer than it has to be. Main one is the last time we were promoted at home. We won 3-2. We were 3-0 up at half time. And I just remember thinking, this can still go catastrophically wrong. Like, I just wasn't confident. Like, we all have those teams that we're never 100% comfortable playing. And for me, it's just Birmingham. I don't know why. It's just, I always get kind of anxious when it comes to this fixture.
I think it's because if history tells us that we've got two teams that tend to go at each other, and they
Yeah.
do become very, very open games. And I know we scraped that 1-0 in the last game, but it was incredibly open. And it's fair to say we were actually still very lucky to come away with the result that we did. Um, but that was 3 points that have helped us, and hopefully Wednesday night we'll see us get another three to take us away from things. But we'll come on to the predictions and thoughts for the game and people to watch out for shortly. So I had a little bit mentioned about the games and gone back in history there, but also I've had a look at some of the players that have been linked or actually have played for both clubs, either be it on loan or on permanent moves. And actually, the list is massive between Birmingham and Cardiff. I didn't realise myself how many had at some point or other crossed and played for both teams. So a little bit of a challenge for you. Over the years that you've been watching Cardiff, can you name me 4 players that have played for both clubs? And I will say, in terms of positions, looking at the list, we've actually covered every position on the field. So, yeah, over to yourself to come up with some names.
Oh God, on the spot now. Oh, this is tricky. I should know this. I really should. And right, okay. So I'm pretty sure Neil Etheridge, I think, has played for both.
Indeed, indeed.
Definitely one. Has Darren Purse played for both?
Darren Purse has played for both. Yes,
Darren
you've got
Purse. Yeah.
goalkeeper, you've got a defender. Go on, go for it. If you've got a
Um,
midfielder, and there's a few.
yeah. Oh, I know of one who definitely played for us on loan, and I can't remember if he was ever at Birmingham or not.
I'll give you a
I
clue.
just
One of them had the longest throw in the football league.
um I'm gonna go on
First,
a punt. Yeah, it was just a bit before my time. Has
first
Jason
initial.
Kumas played for both?
Pumas hasn't. No, no.
Ah,
Give you another midfielder. Midfielder stroke winger actually. Initials TA.
TA.
Or one more. I think will be in and around your era. Yeah, should be definitely. JM in midfield.
JM.
If you can't think, don't worry. We can go on to see if you can think of
Yeah.
any strikers.
Um,
There's one that should stand out a mile for you. It's tough when you
it's on the spot. It's
when you
yeah,
put it in
it
front
is.
of you.
I got hundreds of names, but I just can't remember if.
No, it's
And I
all
know
right.
there's
So run
strikers
through a
of
few then.
yeah.
JM
Has
in midfield.
Earnshaw played for both?
Sure. No,
No.
I think he wanted to play for everybody there, sure, didn't
Yeah, that's the thing because
he?
because he's been everywhere. I just thought maybe there was a little bit of time
Well, your
between the two.
midfielder with JM was Jordan Much.
Oh,
You've
of course he did.
you've mentioned Neil
Oh, I
Etheridge
forgot about
already.
that.
You mentioned Darren Purse,
Yeah,
another defender, Colossus for both teams in defence was Roger Johnson.
yeah.
Um, you've got Chris Burke, who played out in the wing, but also a little bit up front. Your player with the longest throw in the Football League, yeah, probably was a little bit before your time, but Andy Legg.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know he played for Birmingham.
Yep. Um, so more recently, and actually at Birmingham at the moment, is Cody Durant.
Is he at Birmingham now?
He is indeed,
I did
yes.
not know that.
Um, we've had another goalkeeper in Lee Camp,
Yeah.
midfielder of Emir Hughes,
Oh,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
Tony Capaldi as well. Back in the day, was
Hmm.
at both clubs. We talk about strikers, a few here actually. Isaac Vassell, Omar Bogle. The one that should stand out for you is Cameron Jerome.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Um, and TA, the midfielder, Tom Adeyemi.
Oh my God, I forgot he played for it was in that era where we just signed so many
It was actually
just
we was
random midfielders.
you can see when it ends as well because all the
Yeah.
players are just dropping away. Um, and one from back in the day, a player that actually I used to watch fondly and think and still do think an awful lot of from his time at Birmingham was Ian Rogerson. Don't think he was at Cardiff very long, but obviously he crossed the path there. Interestingly, when I go through the players, but also look at management. Now we actually haven't had a manager that's managed both clubs, but we do have links in terms of some management overall. In obviously we've mentioned as well Darren Purse at the moment.
Yeah.
I think he's your under 23s manager. Is that right?
Yeah, under
And
23s, yeah.
a friend of the show as well. We've actually had Darren on Tilton Talk to have a chat with him, but also did a questions and answer session with him a few months ago, which was absolutely superb. And he is just a fantastic guy, very genuine, very honest. Actually, travelled up for the Q&A. And then had to go back for a Cardiff game. So he does a lot of travelling. So it's been interesting to see those links over the time and over the years. But like I say, most recently, when I look at like what was Birmingham's Premiership time, Cameron Jerome, Roger Johnson being in there was actually fundamental and a massive part of our club, keeping us in the Premier League as they did when they were there, and scoring some wonder goals. Cameron Jerome, I always remember at Liverpool, absolute screamer. Don't think he ever hit a ball any sweeter than that night. And then we were cheated out of it by a Liverpool player that just decided to dive. So, but we won't go any further. Um, so yeah, we've had quite a bit where we've had the overlaps. What's in terms of the times that you've seen Birmingham play against Cardiff? Have you got one game that stands out for you in terms of just basically brings back a lot of memories? Is there anything in particular?
Definitely that 3-2 game in the promotion season. It was, it was kind of at that time where, we were sort of starting to believe that we could go up. Um, there was one game away to Brentford, which I think came just before where we won, I want to say 3-1. And that's when we started to think like, oh, wow, okay, we're in second half of the season now, and we just bring a performance like this, we could generally make something of this. And that one in particular as well, it's just like so many things happened that day, like being 3-0 up, and I'm still just wasn't confident. And I remember you guys had a penalty about like maybe 9 minutes into the second half or something. Um, and it was a bit of a questionable one, probably. I was the other
On all
side of the
penalties
stadium.
nowadays.
Exactly. Yeah. I was the other side of the stadium and it looked, well, from where I was sat, it looked questionable. So it probably wasn't. But I just remember like the whole stand was whistling, like to try and put the player off. And I remember just whistling so hard as he went up to score it. I went massively lightheaded just because I'd been breathing out so much. So I didn't actually see the goal because I was just so dizzy and we just went a bit thing for a bit and then just heard like the cheer from the away end. I was like, oh, okay, so we scored then. Yeah, no, that one always in particular because it just, I don't know, it just comes and sums up like how I always feel about playing Birmingham, like regardless of whether, you know, whatever form either side is in. I think the game in December probably summed that up quite well. Like it's just, and no matter how comfortable we could be in it, it just, it only takes that one moment to make it a bit more unpleasant. And that, and on the day it was great. We got the win, and we did end up going up that year. But yeah, at the same time, it's just like it's weird when it's just one of those fixtures, and it's like not even as if we're particularly a bogey team for each other, but it's just one that whenever a Cardiff game might be on telly as well, it's always Birmingham away, and we always seem to lose 1-0 every time I watch it. So it's just
I
a
think
weird
for,
one.
for for me, I mean, there's been plenty of games between us that have kind of resonated. But for me, it's always been the very first game that I travelled to Cardiff to actually watch, and it was at the Old Ninian Park.
Hmm.
Um, I'll never forget. Absolutely pouring it down with rain constantly throughout the day, no shelter whatsoever. So yeah, it's saturated as away fans, but such a good game in that type of weather where we had two teams just going hell for leather at each other. And if I remember rightly, we came away with a draw. Um, but it's the random things that I always remember. So, like I say, the poor weather, having nowhere to shelter, um, going to a place where for the very first time, and actually probably the last time that I can ever recall, pie at half time consisted of a warm pork pie rather than anything else. And I'd never been to a stadium where that had happened before. And still to this day actually haven't. But it's like things like that that just stand out, and then obviously the long journey home. But as Birmingham fans, we've also got fond memories of Cardiff being the city centre of the area for the Millennium Stadium as well. So it's not just coming down for the games against Cardiff that I recall. We got the cup final, the playoff final, all great fun, and for both of those fantastic weekends and ones that I'll never forget. So a lot happens over time. We'll say not been to your new stadium. I have family that have, but haven't actually ventured into the new stadium yet. So it's one on my list that we must frequent. So Wednesday night, we've mentioned already how it's a massive game from a Birmingham point of view. We're sitting a point adrift in the bottom three at the moment with opportunities to hopefully get out of that and turn the season around that we need. You've mentioned there that Cardiff are in a situation where don't think they'll go down, don't think they'll get the playoffs. So it's mid-table mediocrity, which is where I would love to have seen Birmingham ultimately. But what's your expectations of the game on Wednesday? And from a Cardiff point of view, who should we watch out for as players? And I suppose in terms of it, what do you think your manager will actually do?
So it feels like one where I think both sets of fans can go into it thinking this game's come at the sort of perfect time for us. So for you guys, like, in a bit of a relegation dogfight, but you're coming up against a team who have really nothing to play for anymore, and we've been in a bit of a bad run of form. Whereas from our perspective, we want to get out of this bad run of form, and we're playing a club a bit further down. But I it's a tough one to kind of predict. I think we're going to see changes to the team that played Saturday. I really hope that we can get some sort of cameo from some youth players. I certainly think Ruben Colwill will start. He was one of our young midfielders. I think he's been in and out of the team. Sometimes he's come on from the bench, but he's absolute quality for us. Probably one of our best players to come through the academy in quite some time. We have got some in and around the squad as well. So I hope if he does get on, and I really hope he does, I doubt he'll start. But there's a young striker called Kian Ashford. He scored an absolute belter for Wales, I want to say under 19s against the Czech Republic, or Czechia some time ago. But he's been absolutely quality in the youth teams this year. And it's kind of been teased that maybe he could be getting some sort of cameo. So I think if we're winning by, I don't know, maybe 2 goals at some point with about 20 or 15 minutes to go, I hope he can get some kind of run out. And certainly he'd be one to keep an eye on, along with Ruben Colwill. But it's just Cardiff this season. We're so unpredictable. Like, one game we can play like Pep's Barcelona, and then the next we're just one of the worst teams you've ever seen in your life. It's been up and down a lot so season. Like, we've gone through runs where I thought, this is how we're going to put our playoff push together. And then at times as well, just thinking, oh, okay, so mid-table mediocrity it is, which, to be honest, I wanted at the start of the season. We've been in relegation fights the last couple of years. If we can have a season where we're not in a relegation fight, then that'll do perfect for me. And that's what we've got. A bit disappointing to think what could have been if we were a bit more consistent. But yeah, I do think we'll see changes, and I think I'd like to think that Ruben will start on Wednesday, and hopefully Kian Ashford and his brother Joel Colwill can get some sort of cameos as well.
From a Birmingham perspective, the way that we are at the moment, we can be defensively saying one moment and then just absolutely lack the consistency and really, I suppose, the concentration lacks towards the end of the game. And I think we've got one of the highest stats of conceding goals in the last 10 minutes of a game. We lost out to a point at Leicester because we just lost concentration at the far post. And we've seen numerous games this season where it's all done the same. So again, I think it's similar to yourself. Can't predict how our team will play. There can be absolute blinders. We can have 2 fullbacks that can be overlapping and be absolutely perfect. Laird being a great example of that. He's phenomenal one game. Going forwards and defending can be absolutely superb. And then it can just lack that concentration and have a really poor game and get stripped the following. Midfield, never consistent. Apart from the fact that we have obviously Jordan James, who I know as a Welsh fan you'll be watching intently on, and he is again a player that can blow hot and cold. We've seen some absolute superb stuff from him and some great strikes throughout the year. He scored some goals that have massively helped us. But then again, we see him switch off. And then we've got obviously Stansfield up front, who at the moment playing out on his own has really started to adapt to that type of positioning. So he's been got a couple of goals now in the past couple of games, albeit luck has been on our side for both of those. But it's down to him to continue that particular way. So I think it's just going to be a very open game. That's one thing I can say. We will be nervous to start off with. I don't think there'll be one Birmingham player that isn't nervous on the evening. We are following some of the other relegation contenders because they're playing Tuesday evening. So that puts a little bit of added pressure on. But hopefully results will have gone our way by the time we do get to kick off, and that we can be in that position where we can pull away from it. So give us your prediction then. I think it's going to be a tough game, but give us your prediction for the evening.
I think it's going to be a tough one. I think a lot of it kind of depends on how we start. If we start like we did Saturday, where we're just really cautious and won't have a go at the defence, then I think, we could be in for a long evening. But what it's quite interesting, like how you said about like is players likely going to be quite nervous and starting quite nervously, and especially if maybe results do go your way on Tuesday, then they could be a little bit more fired up. So I think probably from the start we're going to have to be fully concentrated to get anything out of this, because like I said, you've got everything to play for, and we don't really have much at this point. But there's players going to be maybe playing for places or involvement again next season. We've got quite a few loan players. Maybe they might want to come back in the summer, whether that's on loan or we can actually spend money now, if that could be permanent. But I think it's a good opportunity for us to get out of this kind of bad run of form at the minute. I think if we are fully concentrated from the first whistle to the last, which is a lot easier said than done when it's Cardiff. But if we are, then I think we could come away with a win. I think I've probably like a 2-0 would be my prediction. And then maybe with some, if we could get a 2-0, like we keep a clean sheet, score a few goals and a couple of cameos from some of the youngsters, then that would do me quite well, and probably see us up quite nice for the last few games of the season.
I think from my perspective, surprise, surprise, I'm going to say I want Birmingham to go out and win it. I think that they've got the fire in the bellies. We've got these ultimately finals. Every single game is a final for us now moving forward, and we've got teams in and around us still to play. But I am hoping that we'll have that little bit more. And if we play like we did against Leicester, and also have that little bit of fight like we had against Preston, then I think we can come away actually similar to yourself with a 2-0 result. My head says that, my heart says it'll be a lot closer though. So I'm still going to stick with my 2-0, and hopefully we can take it as a little bit of a springboard for the remainder of the season as well. So, but Tom, thank you very much for joining us. As with every team, I will say the same thing, which is I wish you every luck apart from Wednesday night, and I hope that we are playing each other again next season in the Championship. But thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate your time, and keep right on. Thanks a lot.